Cultural diversity is a common issue faced in diverse workplaces all over the world. Diversity relates to how people perceive themselves as well as how they perceive others. These perceptions include stereotypes, prejudices, and other misconceptions which can all have a negative effect on a business. An increase in technology usage has led to more companies expanding globally. Companies are seeking professionals who can adapt to different working environments and embrace different cultures while successfully managing their global operations. This research project will evaluate the many aspects of culture and leadership with a concentration on U.S. and Venezuela work environments, and state its findings on what behaviors and skills the American manager will need to effectively manage the U.S. company overseas operations. Both the U.S. and Venezuela have different clusters of people, as well as different cultures living within its country. In order not to confuse a cluster of people as a culture, it is important to understand the meaning of each word. According to the Oxford English Dictionary, a cluster is defined as a group of similar people closely together. This can be viewed as a group of people living amongst one another and experiencing the same quality of life. Culture can be defined as the programming of the human mind to believe in certain values, practices, and concepts. Both countries have a higher power who are above the citizens. Hofstede used the Power Distance Index to demonstrate why these higher powers are accepted as our superiors. However, there are more respected in Venezuela than in the United States. The president is challenged more in America if he does something that disturbs or upsets the citizens of the U.S. They tend to use social media and protests to voice their opinions about inequalities amongst people in an attempt to get the president to make a change. In the United States, individualism is more common than collectivism, whereas in Venezuela, collectivism is more common. U.S. citizens tend to put themselves and their families before their communities because we tend to value our close relationships. In the United States, individuals have their own business for the support of themselves and their families. However, in Venezuela, they tend to value their community and government more than the citizens in the U.S. The Venezuelan government is very active in their communities and in aiding their citizens. As stated in the section above Power Index, the citizens of the United States have more freedom of speech. Therefore, they have an advantage when it comes to making a change in society and use their free will to ensure a better outcome for society. Protests, strikes, social media, and news outlets are all common uses for citizens to voice their opinion and quickly spread their word to attempt to make a change. In Venezuela, their government is very strict, and there are ground rules that must be followed. This prohibits the Venezuelan citizens from helping determine the outcome for the future of their communities. The Venezuelan business environment is divided into two generations: educated young Americans and locally educated and business-trained older Americans. And when conducting business, the Venezuelans focus the majority on the individual rather than the organization represented by the individual. This means that for a business, building individuals who are acceptable to society proves to be more of an advantage than building a company brand. And Venezuelans have a strong sense of pride and love for their country. The Venezuelans put the interests of their country first when conducting business. And prospective business leaders should be keen on identifying these interests. There are several business norms for Venezuela that should be taken into consideration by prospective business leaders. They are meeting etiquette, dress etiquette, appointments, business cards, relationships and communications, language, and business negotiations. So, what are the qualities of a good leader in the United States versus Venezuela? Well, there are a great similarity in good leadership qualities both in US and in Venezuela, which include, but is not limited to, the possession of a good eye for talent, fearlessness and capability and willingness to take risks for greater returns, ability to own up to his or her mistakes and offer apologies whenever it happens, persistence to make the necessary business moves and actions to reach success. Despite the similarities in the good leadership qualities among both countries, there is a slight difference in the business focus of both countries. So, what's expected of the manager in terms of leadership in Venezuela? They are: 1. It is important for the manager to note the different nature of people in terms of decision making and role playing in the society. 2. In Venezuela, there is a call for a lot of consultation before arriving to a decision. 3. Learning the Venezuelan language. 4. Adapting to the local cultural practices of the Venezuelans for the necessary business operations. And 5. Understanding the art of elegant dressing as defined by the Venezuelans. In conclusion, being a manager from a different country with a completely different cultural background, there is a lot of adjustment that the manager is expected to make to efficiently undertake the newly assigned role in Venezuela.